Okay, so this is a new version of my Beatles collection video, and it's gonna take a while. It might be a little rambly, so I'm just giving you a fair warning that you see the timestamp there. I don't yet. I have no clue how long this is gonna take. I've gotten a bunch new Beatles albums since last one that I filmed, and that one's terrible, and I've since deleted it. So let's just go through this. First off is Please Please Me. It is a 1963 late mono pressing on the yellow and black label. This is a -1N. I got on Discogs for $40. I got very lucky, and it was shipped from the US, which is ridiculous. So, on the beautiful Parlogram label, obviously the best versions are the very early mono presses on the gold and black label, but those also cost me probably you know, a whole year of rent. Second is introducing the Beatles. This is a legitimate pressing. This is not a bootleg on the all black label. This is a Monarch pressing, if I'm not mistaken. This was the US version of Please Please Me. This was the very first Beatles record to be issued in the US. You can see there, $17.99 is the price that I paid for. At my favorite local record shop, Inner Grooves Records. Okay, moving right along. This one I actually just picked up today, which is why I was like, I have to make a new version of this video. This is the second Beatles record to be issued in Canada. The first one was Beatlemania with the Beatles. This is on the 6000 series. This was Capitol Canada. This is not Dave Dexterized. This is, in fact, the original British mono tapes. On this is an XEX-455. This is all British, just released in Canada, because you have to remember in the 60s, Canada was still a British colony or something like that. This is actually probably the best sounding of Please Please Me to some extent, because it's pressed so flat and so soft that you can really crank it and still enjoy listening to it. And the record is in beautiful condition as well. And you can see that it's the Capitol layout, but it's a little bit different. The text font and size is a little bit thinner. Moving right along here. Speaking of with the Beatles, with that nice large mono text, this is a -7N pressing of the album with a KT tax stamp on the Parlophone label, that I imported from Canada last year. I believe I paid about $70 for it. Beautiful laminate on this cover as well. There is some creasing here, so it's not perfect, but it really holds up quite well. It's a Garrett and Lofthouse patents pending. PMC 1206. Unfortunately, did not come with the original Emitex sleeve. I only actually have one of those, but we'll get to that when we do. Moving right along here. The US equivalent, Beat the Beatles, Meet the Beatles. That I paid $12 for. This 10, I'm sorry. This is a mono as well. I went to a record shop where I used to live called Hadfield Record Exchange. I have no idea how they sold this to me for only $10, because it is in pristine condition. This is a Scranton pressing. You probably won't be able to see, but there is the Scranton Union logo there. And as a fellow fan of unions, thank God for that. Yeah. Now, you know, I won't go on too long about this, because if we do, I'll never end this fucking video. But basically, a lot of people have extremely polarizing views on the Capitol records. The U.S. Capitol, not the Capitol Canada. But the real U.S. Dave Dexter Beatles albums. And, personally, I like some of them. I like Meet the Beatles a lot, actually, because I love This Boy. I love I Want to Hold Your Hand. The first side of that album is perfect. And when you get a nice, clean copy of it, it really doesn't sound that bad. Some of them are actual mono mixes. I think the majority were fold downs of the stereo, but I can't be too sure about that. Moving along is, of course, the Beatles' second album. This is a VG Plus mono. I paid $16 for it. This is in beautiful, beautiful condition with very few spindle marks. This is a Scranton pressing again, a year of release. And not as good as the first, not as good as Meet the Beatles, I will say, but it does have that unique mono mix, only found on this record, If I Call Your Name, with a slightly different guitar lead, I believe by George Harrison. So definitely worth seeking out if you're a fan of those rare and unique mono mixes of Beatles albums. Okay, moving along here is a pretty poor copy of the U.S. A Hard Day's Night. This one I hate. I don't like this record. However, I do enjoy the nice instrumental version of And I Love Her. That is beautiful. So, worth it to have, but I wouldn't pay more than $5-10 for it, most for it. Here's the version that you do need to have. The actual Hard Day's Night. This is a mono. This is a first pressing with the sold in the UK text. This is a -3N, an XEX -481-3N. This is an absolutely amazing record. From start to finish, it sounds beautiful. Probably the best mono pressing the Beatles ever put out. And the songs are all original, and they're all fantastic. And the laminate on this is still quite nice as well. Another reason to get these Parlophone, these British records, the laminated sleeves. I think all records should have laminated sleeves, but I guess it's a little expensive. I'm assuming it is. Okay, here is the first one in my collection that is not mono and not year of release. This is obviously it's Beatles for Sale. It's in stereo, because I believe that the stereo pressing of this sounds better. This is also a 2 EMI box, 1971 stereo repressing of it. This is a YEX142-1, and it sounds really, really good. The mono mix of this was muddy and flat, and not in a good way. The stereo mixes, I think, actually bring the songs out a lot nicer. And also a gorgeous laminate on this as well. But the cover is very flimsy. The Beatles for Sale covers were notoriously flimsy. Moving right along to another one that I picked up just today is a mono Beatles 6. This is Capitol. This was 1965, I believe, 64 or 65. Mostly Beatles for Sale tracks with the addition of Bad Boy, and yes it is. Bad Boy being only a US release up until I think the 70s for Britain. This is in really nice condition, except the fact that there is a little scratch on track 1 of side 1 that causes the needle to skip, unfortunately. But this is a unique Gloversville pressing, a Decca Plant Gloversville release of the record, but not really featuring the best material of them, but I am a huge fan of Yes It Is. And I didn't have it, so it was worth getting for only $8. Okay, the first Beatles album that I bought, and also probably one of the most impressive ones. This is a 1976 2 EMI box. I bought it still sealed. This was still sealed when I bought it. This was an original Gem Records import stereo. And yeah, this is in near mint. I mean, this is as clean a record as you'll ever see. I'm not even going to take it out. It's a 2 EMI box, Beatles album. The sleeve is obviously in really, really still laminated, and a great record. But yeah, that is one that I don't really want to touch if I don't have to. And the worst one in my collection, the Capitol Help. This is a really terrible record. I'm not even going to mince my words. It's terrible. I have it in good condition. I didn't buy it. This was my dad's. I hardly even count it. That is by far the Capitol's worst record. Okay, moving right along. Followed up by Capitol's best. The Capitol Rubber Soul. Now, the sleeve is a little bit worse for wear, but the record is quite nice. This is a mono T-442. This is a Scranton pressing. And yes, it is polarizing. A lot of people really, really want to give credit for the British releases and never say anything nice about the US. But let's just admit here, this is what, Brian Wilson heard that influenced him to write this record. This is a 1980 mono repressing, by the way, on green Capitol labels. Yeah, so, and I do have the British Rubber Soul. In fact, I have the Notorious Loud Cut. I don't want to say Notorious as if it's bad. I actually like it. But this is a -1-1 of Rubber Soul, a very, very, very first pressing, with the sold in the UK, XCX 581-1 on both sides. My friend has a -5-5, which is actually, I think, even more rare. And I did play his and compared his and mine. This is a bit louder, but I really wouldn't say by much. I don't think it's fair to call this a loud cut. But that's just my opinion. And also I have to say it because I paid $100 for it and I want it to sound good. Ah, man, I've been talking for a while. Okay. Moving right along. Another record that I just bought today is Yesterday and Today, Capitol, mono. I don't believe that there is a butcher cover laying under this, and I'm really not going to tear up the cover to find out that there's nothing there. So I'm assuming that there's probably not. And from what Discogs told me about this release, this is not. There's no butcher there's no butcher underneath that trunk, unfortunately. But I wanted to get it, A, because there was only $8 and I didn't have it. B, the record was in great shape. And C, this features early mono mixes of the Revolver songs that are on here, such as I'm Only Sleeping, Dr. Robert, and Andrew Bird Can Sing. And you can go to, and I'll try to remember to put it in the description for the video, the link there, if it is there, and hopefully it is, Anthony, is the Beatles Usenet Guide of Mixes. And it's the Bible, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of Beatles mixes, on the different releases, the mono and the stereos. And there are, indeed, early versions of Revolver tracks on here. This was put out before Revolver was released in the US and the UK. And essentially, Capitol needed to put out a record. They asked George Martin if they had any new tracks laying around. And they had these John Lennon songs for Revolver back in May of 1966. And then when the actual proper Revolver came out, which are the next 3 in my collection, spoiler alert, they remixed them again for mono for Revolver. First one that I'm starting off here, I don't know why this is the first one, but it is a Venezuelan British stereo mix of Revolver. This is a 1966 pressing. I paid $20 for it. It's on the Odeon label. And yes, this is a Venezuelan pressing, released for the Venezuelan market, but it uses the British metalwork, as it says there, YEX 605. So this is a British stereo 1966 mix on a Venezuelan Odeon release. It's very interesting. It's also interesting because it includes no record label logo right there. And that's interesting because of the fact that on all the other ones, as you'll see, there's a logo there, such as on this 1966 mono Parlophone release of Revolver. Not, unfortunately, the XEX 606-1 with that sought-after early Tomorrow Never Knows mix. I've heard it. It's literally 3 seconds of extra audio, not worth spending thousands of dollars on. This is a 606-3-2-3. Sounds amazing anyway. This is a year of release with the sold in the UK text. And this is the way to listen to Revolver. In my opinion, this is the way to listen to Revolver. Obviously, one of their best records. They don't have a bad one in their catalog, with the beautiful laminate there. Okay, and then this one that I hardly ever play, the Capitol Revolver. This is a stereo one. This is a Pittman pressing. It's very clean. It plays quite nicely. It sounds great, other than the fact that the best songs on the record are missing, because they put it on yesterday and today. So, yeah. The Capitol Help and the Capitol Revolver, so not worth buying. That's just my opinion. But I have them. Okay, so this is the first, I guess, real compilation record that I have in my collection. This is called Beatles Greatest. This is a EMI Parlophone Odeon. This is a Norwegian pressing of the Beatles Greatest, which was a compilation that they put out in 1967 of early Beatles tracks. The only reason I have is because there's some rare mixes on this record. One of the most interesting, probably the most interesting on here, is the stereo mix, because this is an all stereo record, mostly, and we'll get to that. Damn, my hair looks good right now. Anyway, sorry. God. The mix of All My Loving that's on here. By the way, this is a near mint record with really sharp edges, like really, you could cut a finger on the edge of this record. Features the count in from Ringo. It's he taps 5 times on his hi-hat. You hear Paul kind of inhale, and then he goes into close your eyes, and then then the song starts. So it's a rare mix of All My Loving. There's also the Capitol stereo mix of I Feel Fine, which is the worst Capitol mix of anything ever. It's terrible. It sounds horrible because it was... What they did is they got the mono mix of it from Parlophone. Then they made their fake duophonic and added a shitload of reverb to it. Then for the mono, they folded down their fake stereo. So check out the mono too. It sounds really bad. But this is interesting. Yeah, it was only $8. It was worth getting because it had some rare mixes on there. And it's, you know, still got the original sleeve on it. So it's an album worth picking up for some rare mixes. Also, the stereo mix of Please Please Me, which, you know, has that famous real mess up at the end. Anyway, on to Sgt. Pepper's. This is a Capitol mono of Sgt. Pepper's. This one I didn't buy. This was my dad's. It's a little bit worse for wear, to say the least, and I hope to get a UK mono of Sgt. Pepper's, because I don't actually have that yet. Okay. The rest of the collection's not as interesting as the first half, unfortunately. This is a Capital of Magical Mystery Tour. This is near mint. I bought this for $20 years ago, and the record is still in pristine condition. And it's a Winchester pressing. This one goes for a little bit of money now, too, especially because of how clean this record is. I do like the album a lot, but the last 3 tracks on side B are all fake stereo, so that does kind of take it away, because Capitol was lazy. And why get the actual stereo mixes, right? Unless you want to get that German pressing, which is not worth a bunch of money. This is a orange label Capitol early 70s reissue of the White Album. It is stereo. There's really not a whole lot to say about it. It's a Capitol early 70s stereo reissue of the White Album. Not worth a lot of money. It is clean. There is everything in here, and there is this interesting ad for the Beatles on Apple Records. Like the whole Beatles catalog on Apple Records. So that's interesting. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to say. It's clean. I paid $24 for it years ago. Probably could get $40 for it now, but that's about it. This one's interesting. I paid $2 for it. It's just a plain, not much to it. What's inside is interesting, though. This is a bootleg of disc 2 of the White Album. This was made by Lu Feng Record Publishing Company. This was a South Korean bootleg of the White Album that they renamed the Beatles' Golden Album. And it's Birthday through Good Night. So it's this, it's part 2 of the White Album, essentially. From what I understand, this was made specifically for soldiers who were fighting in Vietnam at the time during, obviously, the Vietnam War, and couldn't get, it was hard importing records from the West into Vietnam during a war. But I guess it was easier for South Korea because they were right there. So this company was up, and I'm sure a bunch of others, and were pressing, with varying levels of legality, different Western records. This is a Capitol stereo Yellow Submarine. I paid $10 for it. Not much to say about this one either, really. It's a little bit worse for wear. But I do like side A of it. This is a Capitol of Let It Be. Well, Apple Capitol. Again, not a very particularly interesting record to talk about. I do like the songs on it, though, of course. And it sounds fine. I might not ever get a UK of that one, because, I do want to get a UK of Abbey Road, though. Mostly for the cover. This is a Capitol, Scranton pressing. Apple SO383. I paid $3 for this. You can see the price tag up there. Years ago, I paid $3 for this. The Let It Be, and what else? Let It Be and this one, I got a Traxomax back in 2013, 2014, when these could still be bought for that cheap. Even though this is a Capitol US Abbey Road, this could still sell for $20 now. What, $10, $20. This is the Beatles' Hey Jude. This is VG plus, VG minus, $17. See what I mean? Like this I bought a couple months ago. That's how much the prices have gone up on these records. This is in really nice, clean condition. This does have some great mixes on here. This has a really nice, true stereo mix of Rain on here. And, this is a nice, clean record. This is a Los Angeles pressing, I believe. And it's got Lady Madonna and Old Blind Shoe, and I didn't have those on any other album yet. And the Inner Light. So, that's why I got this one mostly. And also because it's got the 7-minute version of Hey Jude. Even though My hot opinion, my hot take of that one, I'm not the biggest fan of Hey Jude. But you waited till the end of the video to hear that, so haha. Anyway, the last one was the first record that I bought when I actually moved up here to my new location in New York. A French pressing of the Beatles 62 to 66 for just $20. The bonus features of having a French pressing of this record is that you get a laminated cover, and you get the real stereo mixes from Parlogram of their tracks. So you don't get capital versions of their songs. You get the real mixes on here. And it's in great, really nice, clean condition. It's definitely the best way to hear the Red and the Blue albums. So, I'm not going to drag it on any longer. That is my Beatles collection. Thank you for watching.